Hello and welcome to another podcast episode. In this podcast episode, we're going to continue with the theme of driving licenses and medical conditions. So here you are completing a routine bus driving license medical examination report. During the examination, you find that the patient has a resting blood pressure of 160/105. Under which circumstances would the patient not be able to drive? And for the bonus question, what is the name of the medical exemption report for a lorry or bus driving license? So hypertension alone is not a reason to refuse Group 2 licensing. And if you'd like to know more about the differences between Group 1 and Group 2 licenses, then please do listen to scenario 38. Now, regarding hypertension, there are 3 reasons when driving must be stopped for a Group 2 licensing, and they are when the resting systolic BP is consistently either 180 or higher, when the resting diastolic blood pressure is consistently 100 or greater, as in the case in this scenario, although we don't know if this is a kind of consistent blood pressure reading or whether it's just a one-off. And finally, if the patient is diagnosed with malignant hypertension. So let's just quickly cover accelerated or malignant hypertension. So accelerated or malignant hypertension is a severe increase in blood pressure where the blood pressure is greater than 180/120 or even higher, because sometimes you find it's as high as 220/120, with signs of retinal hemorrhages and or papilledema, which is swelling of the optic nerve, and it's also often associated with new or progressive organ damage. So that would be by doing an ECG or by testing their urine dip for protein or by doing their kidney function as well. Now, licensing for Group 2 licensing can occur after the blood pressure is controlled, provided that there's no side effects from the treatment that they're going to take, which is not going to affect their driving. So an example of this might be, let's say if somebody needs to go on to an alpha blocker and it causes quite significant postural hypotension, then that might affect their ability to drive as well. Now, with regards to the second part of the question, which was the bonus part, it was what type of form needs to be completed. So the form that needs to be completed when assessing the fitness for Group 2 licensing is known as the D4 form. The D4 form is a form that can actually be completed by most doctors as long as you have full registration with the GMC, and it's not limited to general practitioners. And you do find that there's many private companies that employ doctors to complete these medical reports, which is known as the D4 medical report. If you are planning to do something like this, make sure that you have the right indemnity to cover for this, as it is a privately offered service. I hope you found this helpful. We're going to continue with the driving side of things in the next podcast, but it's going to be around Group 1 licensing. This podcast is hosted by wellmedic.co.uk. We help GP trainees pass the AKT.